You are still asking permission. Not out loud. You'd never admit it out loud. But somewhere underneath the version of you that walks into a room like he owns it, there's a smaller, quieter version still checking faces. Still scanning the room for the nod. Still waiting to see if it's okay that you exist the way you just existed. You laughed at a joke and then immediately checked if the laugh landed right. You sent the text and then reread it 4 times, not for typos, for tone. For how it would be received. You made the decision, the right one, the one you actually believed in, and then spent the next hour bracing for what people would think of it. That's not confidence. That's a hostage negotiation with an audience that isn't even watching. And here's the part that should actually bother you: you already know this about yourself. You've known it for years. You've read that other people's opinions are none of your business. You've nodded along to the quote, maybe even repeated it to a friend once, sounding wise. And you're still doing it. Still flinching before the disapproval even arrives. Still building your sense of self out of other people's faces, the way a man builds a house on rented land, never quite sure when the landlord is going to knock. That's not a personality flaw. It's an old program, installed long before you were old enough to read the terms and conditions, and for the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly where it was installed, exactly why it's still running, and exactly how the Stoics, 2,000 years before psychology had a name for any of this, figured out how to shut it off for good. 9 lessons. No fluff. Every one of them was tested by men who had far more reason than you to seek approval, and who chose, deliberately, to stop. Let's go. Lesson 1. Approval seeking was never a preference. It was survival. You didn't choose to care what people think of you. That was decided for you, a long time before you had any say in the matter. A child who is fed, sheltered, and kept alive depends entirely on the approval of the adults around him. Not metaphorically, literally. Disapproval, to a small child, doesn't feel like an inconvenience. It registers, at the nervous system level, as a threat to survival itself. A frown from a parent isn't just an unpleasant expression to a 4-year-old. It's data that says, you might be abandoned. An abandonment, to a creature that cannot yet feed or protect itself, is functionally death. So your brain did the sensible thing. It built a system whose entire job, running around the clock, was to monitor faces, tones, silences, and pull you back into safety before you got hurt. It became extraordinarily good at its job. It had to be. Your survival depended on it. The problem is that system never got the memo that you grew up. It's still running the exact same threat calculation on a 40-year-old man that it built for a 4-year-old boy standing in a kitchen doorway, reading the room before he dared to speak. Someone doesn't reply to your message and some old, unexamined part of you reads it as danger, the exact same way it once read your mother's silence as danger, or your father's raised voice as a 5-alarm fire. Marcus Aurelius understood this without a single word of neuroscience available to him. He wrote, in a private journal never meant for anyone else to read, that a man should learn to act, and to want, and to speak, from his own considered judgment, not from the fear of what a crowd might mutter about him afterward. He wrote that note to himself, at night, alone, because he needed to hear it. Because even an emperor, a man with more approval available to him than almost anyone in recorded history, was still fighting the same frightened child inside his own skull, decades into ruling the known world. You are not weak for feeling this. You are simply running old code, written under conditions that no longer apply, by a version of you who had no other option. Lesson 1 is nothing more than this: name it correctly. It's not a character flaw. It's a survival system, decades out of date, still guarding a door that nobody is trying to break down anymore. Think about how strange this actually is when you say it plainly. A grown man, capable of paying his own bills, driving his own car, making his own decisions from morning to night, still flinches at a coworker's flat tone of voice the same way he once flinched at a raised hand. The threat is gone. The alarm never got the update. And instead of questioning the alarm, most men spend their whole lives rearranging their behavior around it, treating a false alarm as though it were still an active fire, because nobody ever taught them the difference between the two. That's the trap. You keep trying to become someone impressive enough, agreeable enough, careful enough that the alarm finally stops ringing. It never will. Not because you haven't tried hard enough. Because the alarm was never actually about your performance in the first place. It was installed once, early, and it will keep ringing at old frequencies no matter how well you perform, until you go back and recalibrate the system itself, rather than endlessly auditioning for its approval. Lesson 2. Most of what you're afraid of isn't even yours to control. Epictetus, a man born into slavery who somehow became one of the freest minds in the history of philosophy, built his entire teaching around one brutally simple distinction: some things are up to you, and some things are not. He called it the dichotomy of control, and once you actually see it, you can't unsee it. Your judgment, your effort, your integrity, your choices, the way you show up, those are yours. Fully, entirely, non-negotiably yours. Other people's opinions of you are not yours. They never were. They belong to the other person, shaped by their mood that day, their unresolved history, their own private fears that have absolutely nothing to do with you, no matter how personally they feel when they land on you. You have spent years trying to manage something that was never in your control to begin with. Trying to steer other people's judgments the way you'd steer a car you were sitting in the driver's seat of. And every time it slipped out of your hands, because it was never actually in your hands to begin with, you experienced that as failure. As proof that something was wrong with you. When really, it was never a task you could have completed in the first place, no matter how skilled or careful or likable you became. Here's the test, and you can use it today. Before you brace for someone's reaction, ask one question: is this actually mine to control? If it's their interpretation, their mood, their history talking, it was never yours to hold in the first place. Set it down. Not because you don't care about people. Because you finally understand which half of the equation was always yours to carry, and which half you were never meant to lift. Epictetus taught this from a position almost nobody listening to him could dismiss. He wasn't a comfortable philosopher offering advice from a position of ease. He'd been owned by another human being, had his leg broken, by most accounts, by a master who could do with him as he pleased. And yet the core of his teaching wasn't bitterness. It was freedom, located in the one place nobody could ever actually reach, his own judgments about what was happening to him. A man can chain your body. He can never make you agree with his opinion of you, unless you hand him that agreement yourself. If a man who survived actual slavery could draw that line and hold it, the line you're being asked to draw today is considerably smaller. Someone's cold reply to your email. A friend's disappointed tone. A stranger's passing judgment on a decision that was never theirs to make. None of it carries the weight you've been assigning it. Lesson 2, in full: stop signing for packages that were never addressed to you. Lesson 3. The audience in your head is bigger than the audience in the room. Psychologists have a name for this now: the spotlight effect. The simple, well-documented, almost comically consistent finding that you believe people are watching, judging, and remembering you far more than they actually are. Everyone around you is starring in their own film, worried about their own performance, running their own anxious replay of their own day. You are, at most, an extra in most of the rooms you walk into, worrying about a level of scrutiny that was never actually being paid to you. You replay a comment you made 3 weeks ago at a dinner, certain it left a mark, certain someone's still thinking about it. The other person doesn't remember it happened. They were too busy running the exact same anxious replay about something they said, convinced you were the one judging them. Two people in the same room, each one certain he's on trial, and neither one of them holding the gavel. The Stoics called this out with a kind of dry, almost amused honesty. Marcus Aurelius returns to it again and again in his journal, reminding himself, over and over, how quickly fame and criticism both evaporate. Every time you build your sense of self on someone else's approval, you've handed them the keys to the one room that was always supposed to be yours alone to furnish. Lesson 4, take the keys back. Not with anger, not with a wall built out of resentment. With quiet, deliberate ownership, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself to be real. You'll know the citadel is actually under construction, and not just talked about, when your reaction time changes. Not when you stop feeling the sting of someone's disapproval entirely. That's not realistic, and it's not even the goal. You'll know it's working when the sting used to last 3 days and now it lasts 3 minutes. When you used to rewrite the same message 11 times and now you send it after 2. The citadel isn't the absence of feeling. It's the speed at which you return to your own center after the feeling passes through. Lesson 5. Rehearse the rejection before it happens. Seneca, writing to a friend, described a practice that sounds almost too simple to actually work, deliberately imagining the worst version of an outcome, in advance, calmly, on purpose, before it has any chance to ambush you. Not to spiral. To défend. If you're afraid someone will be disappointed in a decision you're about to make, sit with it on purpose, before you make the call. Picture their exact disapproving face. Picture what they'd say, word for word if you can manage it. Picture how you'd survive it, because you would. You always have. Your track record on surviving disapproval is, in fact, perfect so far. 100%. You just never once give yourself credit for the streak, because your mind is far more interested in the next threat than the last survival. The fear you're avoiding is almost always bigger and blurrier in the dark than it ever turns out to be in the light. Rehearsing it on purpose turns a formless dread into a finite, survivable scene with edges you can actually see. And a fear with edges stops running the show from the shadows, because it's no longer a shadow. It's just a scene you've already walked through once, on your own terms, before it ever had the chance to walk in on you. This is not the same thing as worrying, and it's worth being precise about the difference, because your mind will try to disguise ordinary anxious spiraling as this exercise if you let it. Worrying is vague, repetitive, and goes nowhere, the same loop, run for the 11th time, solving nothing, just wearing a groove into your nervous system. This is the opposite. It has a beginning, a specific scenario, and an end. You walk all the way through it, once, deliberately, and then you close the file. If you find yourself running the same rehearsal for the 5th time in an hour, that's not Stoic preparation anymore. That's the old alarm again, dressed up in a philosophy costume. Do it once, thoroughly, and let it be finished. Lesson 6. Stop over-explaining your no. Watch how a man who's actually made peace with disapproval says no to something. Notice it. It's short. It doesn't come wrapped in 3 paragraphs of justification. It doesn't ask, quietly, underneath the words, for permission to have a preference of his own. Over-explaining is a tell. It's the 4-year-old again, building a careful legal case for why he's still allowed to be loved even though he just disappointed somebody. A grown man doesn't need a case prepared in advance. His no is a complete sentence on its own, because his sense of worth was never actually on trial in the room to begin with. This week, notice every single time you catch yourself justifying a decision that never required justification. Not rudely, not coldly. Just plainly. That doesn't work for me, is a full and complete answer, all on its own. Anything you feel the urge to add after it is usually fear, dressed up carefully as politeness, hoping nobody notices what it actually is. This isn't a license to become blunt for the sake of being blunt, or to mistake coldness for strength. A short no, said warmly, is still short. The goal isn't fewer words because you stopped caring about the other person. It's fewer words because you stopped needing their agreement in order to feel entitled to your own preference. Warmth and brevity were never in conflict. Only fear and brevity are. Lesson 7. What is not yours is nothing to you. Epictetus again, and this is the line that, once it actually lands, changes how a man carries himself for the rest of his life, quietly, permanently. Other people's judgments of you are not yours. They are, to you, precisely and literally nothing. Not because you don't care about people, not because you've become indifferent to the world. Because a judgment formed in someone else's head, shaped by someone else's history, someone else's mood, someone else's blind spots, was never actually a fact about you in the first place. It was only ever a fact about them. You've been treating other people's opinions like verdicts handed down from a bench. They're not verdicts. They're weather. It rains on you sometimes, unpredictably, sometimes without warning. It doesn't mean the sky was ever actually judging you personally, sitting up there with an opinion about your character. Let the rain be rain. Get a code if you need one. Keep walking. There's a second layer to this lesson that most men miss the first time they hear it. It isn't only that other people's negative opinions are none of your business. Their positive ones aren't either, not in the way you've been using them. If you let a compliment inflate you, you've already agreed to let the same mechanism deflate you the next time the opinion runs the other way. The praise and the criticism come from the exact same unreliable source. A man who's actually free doesn't refuse the compliment. He just stops needing it to feel steady, the same way he stopped needing the criticism to feel small. Both become weather. Neither one moves the citadel. Lesson 8. Become your own witness. Here's the quiet trick underneath all 9 of these lessons, the one that actually does the work while you're not looking. The reason approval seeking has so much power over you is that some part of you never learned how to approve of yourself, cleanly, without needing a second signature. So you outsourced the job to whoever happened to be standing nearby. And outsourced jobs, done by strangers with their own agendas and their own bad days, rarely get done the way you actually needed them done. Every night, review one thing you did today that you're genuinely, quietly proud of. Not performed for anyone, not posted anywhere, not mentioned to a single other person. Just noticed, by you, for you, in the privacy of your own head. This is not vanity. This is training a part of your mind that was never given the job of witnessing you fairly, because for most of your life, that job was handed off to other people who were never going to do it as carefully as you actually need it done. Do this for 30 nights in a row and something in you genuinely shifts. You stop needing the nod from across the room, because you've already started giving it to yourself, honestly, quietly, on the nights you've actually earned it. Lesson 9. Remember the clock is running. Memento mori, remember you will die, sounds like a strange place to land a lesson about self-respect, until you actually sit with it for more than a few seconds. Because almost nothing steals a life faster, more quietly, more completely, than a man spending his one finite existence auditioning for an audience that was never going to remember the performance anyway. You do not have unlimited nights left to live small inside someone else's opinion of you. You have a number, unknown to you, but not infinite, ticking down whether you notice it or not. Every hour spent bracing for a disapproval that mostly never even arrives is an hour that will never once be given back to you, no matter how badly you might want it returned. Marcus Aurelius kept that fact close, deliberately. Every single day he ran an empire, fought wars, buried people he loved, not to despair over it, not to spiral, but to sort, instantly, what actually deserved his limited attention from what didn't. Most disapproval doesn't deserve your attention. It never did. You just hadn't been told that clearly enough, by anyone, until right now. Picture the version of you on his deathbed, decades from now, looking back at tonight. He is not going to care that a coworker seemed a little cold in a meeting in the summer of this year. He is not going to remember the text you reread 4 times before sending. He is going to care about whether you actually lived like a man who trusted his own judgment, or whether you spent the years available to you quietly outsourcing your worth to people who were, themselves, too busy outsourcing theirs to ever really hold it for you. Let that future man's priorities set today's. He already knows what mattered. He's just waiting for you to catch up. So here's what I'll actually ask of you, and it's smaller than you'd expect. Not a personality overhaul by Monday morning. Not a new identity by the end of the month. Just this, the next time you feel the old, familiar pull to check a face, to over-explain a no, to brace for a reaction that hasn't even happened yet and probably never will, pause, for one single breath, and ask the only question that actually matters. Is this mine to control? Most of the time, it never was. It just felt like it was, because nobody ever taught you the difference. That's the whole shift, when you strip everything else away. Not becoming a man who doesn't care about anyone around him. Becoming a man who finally, quietly, permanently knows which opinions were ever actually his to carry in the first place, and which ones he's been hauling around for free, at real cost, for years he's never getting back. None of this arrives in one sitting, and I'd be lying if I told you otherwise. The old program doesn't get deleted because you watched one video and felt something click. It gets rewritten the same slow way it was written the first time, through repetition, through small daily proof that the alarm was wrong, gathered one instance at a time until the new evidence finally outweighs the old. If this found you at the right moment tonight, if some part of what you just heard felt uncomfortably familiar, felt like it was describing a room you've stood in more than once, that's exactly what we dig into here, every single week, no exceptions. Subscribe to the Stoic Code, so the next time the old program tries to run without your permission, you already know exactly where the off switch is.